Recognize their patterns without getting pulled in. The very first step in dealing with toxic people is understanding exactly what you are dealing with. You cannot defend yourself from something you cannot clearly identify. Toxic people are not always loud, aggressive, or openly abusive. Sometimes they come dressed as friends, family members, or even kind, charming individuals. But their behavior eventually reveals who they are through patterns. Recognizing these patterns protects you from getting pulled into emotional traps. Toxic people often use manipulation to get what they want. They twist your words, make you doubt your memory, or shift blame onto you, even when you did nothing wrong. They may act like the victim to gain sympathy or control the situation. They can minimize your feelings, mock your goals, or make you feel guilty for setting boundaries. Some use passive aggression, others use explosive behavior, and some use silent treatment as a way to punish you. These patterns are not random. They are strategies designed to maintain control. One clever way to handle this is to step back emotionally and observe them like you are watching a movie. When you observe instead of react, you see the pattern clearly. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What is this person trying to get from me?" Observation brings clarity. Clarity brings power. Toxic people thrive on emotional reactions because reactions give them control. But when you refuse to react, you break their influence. Another important truth is this: their behavior is not about you. It feels personal because it is aimed at you, but it is not born from who you are. It is born from who they are. Their insecurity, their jealousy, their unresolved trauma, their fear of losing control. When you understand that their toxicity is a reflection of their inner chaos, you stop taking their actions as attacks on your worth. You stop trying to fix them. You stop feeling responsible for their emotions. Recognizing patterns also helps you predict their next moves. If someone always starts drama when you succeed, you know their issue is insecurity. If someone always guilt trips you when you say no, you know their issue is entitlement. If someone constantly criticizes you, they're projecting their own self-hate. When you can predict behavior, you no longer feel surprised or confused. You no longer fall into the emotional traps. This awareness is powerful because it shifts the dynamic. Instead of being the person they manipulate, you become the person who sees through them. Instead of getting hooked into their drama, you detach emotionally. Instead of fighting with them, you remain centered. Awareness turns their chaos into information. It turns their manipulation into transparency. It turns your emotional vulnerability into strength. When you recognize their patterns without getting pulled in, you reclaim control over your peace, your decisions, and your energy. This is the first clever step. It does not require confrontation. It does not require arguing. It simply requires opening your eyes. Once you see the pattern, you can no longer be controlled by it. And once you refuse to be controlled, the toxic person loses their power over you. Set boundaries and enforce them every time. Once you recognize a toxic person's patterns, the next powerful step is setting boundaries. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about protecting yourself. They are the lines that define what you will allow and what you will no longer tolerate. Many people struggle with boundaries because they fear disappointing others or being seen as rude. But the truth is, without boundaries, you become an easy target. ET for manipulation, emotional chaos, and disrespect. Toxic individuals dislike boundaries because boundaries expose their behavior. When someone who is used to controlling you suddenly meets resistance, they will try to push, test, or ignore your limits. This is exactly why boundaries must be firm and consistent. A boundary is not just a sentence you speak. It is a standard you live by. Start with clarity. Know exactly what behaviors harm you. Maybe it is constant criticism. Maybe it is emotional manipulation. Maybe it is drama, yelling, guilt-tripping, or pressure. Once you identify the behavior, set a clear boundary around it. For example, you might decide that you will not stay in conversations where you are being insulted. You will not respond to messages meant to provoke you. You will not explain yourself repeatedly to someone who refuses to listen. You will not accept blame that is not yours. Boundaries do not need long explanations. In fact, short, calm statements are the most effective. You can say, "I am not discussing this right now," or "Please speak to me respectfully," or "I am stepping away from this conversation," or "I'm not responsible for how you choose to feel." These statements are not confrontational. They are protective. They show that you value yourself enough to refuse disrespect. But the real power of boundaries lies in what you do next. Toxic people will always test your limits. They may act like they did nothing wrong. They may try to guilt trip you. They may raise their voice, play the victim, or pretend to apologize just to regain control. This is where most people fall back into the trap. They give in because the pushback feels uncomfortable. This is why enforcing a boundary is more important than setting it. You must do exactly what you said you would do. If you said you will leave the conversation when it becomes disrespectful, leave immediately when it happens. If you said you will not respond to late-night messages, do not respond. If you said you are not engaging in arguments, walk away calmly. Consistency teaches the toxic person that their old tactics no longer work on you. At first, they may get louder, they may try harder, but eventually, they realize that your boundary is not negotiable. And when they realize they cannot control you, they lose interest in trying to manipulate you. You reclaim your emotional space. You regain your power. Boundaries are not about being tough or rude. They are about loving yourself enough to protect your peace. When you set boundaries fearlessly, you teach people how to treat you. When you enforce them consistently, you show them that your self-respect is non-negotiable. And once you take this step, you shift the entire dynamic. You stop absorbing their behavior. You stop being drained. You become someone they cannot shake, manipulate, or break. Protect your peace with firm boundaries. One of the most powerful ways to deal with toxic people is to master the art of setting firm, non-negotiable boundaries. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They are filters that protect your energy, your emotional health, and your mental clarity. If you want peace, if you want control, and if you want to stop feeling drained, you must become someone who can confidently express what is acceptable and what is not. Toxic people thrive in environments where boundaries are weak or unclear because it allows them to influence, manipulate, or dominate your emotional space. But the moment you establish strong boundaries, you take back your power. A boundary is simply a limit. It is you saying, "I will not tolerate this behavior," or "This is what I need in order to feel respected." Many people struggle with setting boundaries because they fear conflict, rejection, or being misunderstood. But the truth is, avoiding boundaries only leads to resentment, exhaustion, and emotional burnout. If you never say stop, toxic people will continue crossing your lines because they see no reason not to. You must redefine what you allow into your life. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you have to be harsh. Boundaries can be clear, calm, and respectful. For example, if someone constantly speaks to you in a disrespectful tone, your boundary might sound like, "I won't continue this conversation if you speak to me like that." If someone repeatedly dumps negativity on you, your boundary can be, "I'm not available for this kind of conversation right now." If someone guilt trips you to get their way, your boundary could be, "I am responsible for my choices and I won't be pressured into decisions." When you communicate boundaries, be firm. Toxic people often test limits. They might get upset, act confused, or even try to make you feel guilty. This is normal. Their reaction has nothing to do with your boundary being wrong. It has everything to do with them losing the control they once had. Don't let their discomfort make you question your worth. Boundaries are a sign of self-respect, and people who truly care about you will honor them without manipulation or resistance. Another way to protect yourself is to limit access. Not everyone should have unlimited entry into your emotional world. You can choose how much time you spend with someone, how much information you share, and what level of intimacy you allow. This is especially important with toxic people who take more than they give. Reducing your availability is not cruelty, it's self-preservation. Also, remember that boundaries are not just spoken, they are enforced. If you tell someone you won't tolerate a certain behavior, but then allow it repeatedly, your boundary loses power. Consistency is key. You teach people how to treat you, not through your words alone, but through your actions. When you honor your own boundaries, others are forced to adapt or step back. At the end of the day, boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about controlling your space. They help you protect your energy, reduce chaos, and create a life where you can thrive, not merely survive. Walk away when necessary and prioritize your peace. Sometimes, no matter how clever or patient you are, the most effective way to deal with toxic people is to walk away. Not every relationship can be fixed, and not every person can be reasoned with. Some people thrive on chaos, drama, and control, and they will continue to drain your energy no matter what strategies you use. Recognizing when it is time to disengage is one of the smartest decisions you can make for your mental and emotional health. Walking away is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is self-respect. Walking away does not always mean a permanent cutoff. Sometimes it simply means reducing contact, stepping back from emotionally charged conversations, or disengaging from arguments. You can choose to keep interactions minimal, polite, and surface level. By doing this, you maintain your presence without letting their toxicity penetrate your peace. Every moment you spend with Miona, who constantly drains you, is a moment you could spend nurturing yourself, building healthier relationships, or creating the life you want. Protecting your time is protecting your future. The hardest part about walking away is often guilt. Toxic people are experts at making you feel responsible for their feelings or their behavior. They might accuse you of abandoning them, being selfish, or not caring. Remember this. You are not responsible for someone else's emotional state. You are responsible for your own life, your own energy, and your own well-being. Choosing peace over drama is a choice to value yourself, and that is always the right choice. Walking away also teaches a powerful lesson. It signals to the toxic person that their behavior is unacceptable. It sets a clear boundary that cannot be crossed, and it prevents further manipulation. Many toxic individuals will initially react negatively, trying to pull you back into conflict, guilt, or arguments. Stand firm. Do not respond to provocations. Detach emotionally while remaining calm and collected. Your silence and refusal to engage are far more powerful than words. Choosing peace over drama opens space for healthier relationships to grow. When you remove toxic energy from your life, you create room for positivity, support, and growth. You start to realize that life does not have to be chaotic, exhausting, or emotionally draining. You rediscover your confidence, your joy, and your clarity. Walking away is not a loss, it is a gain. You gain freedom, you gain control, and you gain the ability to invest your time and energy in people who truly deserve it. At the end of the day, life is too short to be spent pleasing or tolerating those who harm you consistently. Walking away is a declaration that you value yourself more than drama, manipulation, or negativity. It is a way of reclaiming your mental space, your emotional stability, and your happiness. Every time you choose to disengage from toxicity, you reinforce a habit of self-respect. You learn that peace is priceless, and that sometimes the best strategy is simply to step away and let go. Remember, walking away is not about anger or revenge. It is about choosing yourself. It is about prioritizing your well-being. It is about creating a life that feels lighter, stronger, and healthier. And when you consistently apply this principle, toxic people will have less power over your life, and you will discover the freedom and calm that come from prioritizing your own peace above all else.